Well, good evening, everyone, and it's finally here. Seems like forever after the last game of last year, but the 2024 edition of the Rejoice Christian Eagles football has arrived. Hello and welcome to the Rejoice Christian Eagles Coaches Show. I'm Bill Bush, joined by my wingman, Mark Kirk, and of course, head coach of the Rejoice Eagles, Brent Marley, and as always, Todd Whitten back there behind the camera and the controls. We're coming to you live. Schaefer, and right up the middle goes Noah, and he busts through and touchdown! Back to pass is Cale, looking over to his left. He got his man there, and it's Tristan Willis, and he may be gone to the races. He makes one man miss. He's down to 5. Touchdown! Rejoice Christian Eagles, as Tristan White did a lot of that on his own, making several men miss. Well, good evening and welcome to the Rejoice Christian Eagles Coaches Show Championship Day, or the after party, the afterglow of the championship here at Buffalo Wild Wings here in Owasso, Oklahoma. I'm Bill Bush, joined by coaches Brent Marley, head coach, the special teams coach Brandon Johnson, offensive coordinator Casey Willis, and running backs coach Chase Sanchez on the end. We're going to have other coaches and some other special gifts as the night goes on. As you'll notice, my wingman, Mark Kirk, isn't here tonight. His dad, Sam, was rushed to the hospital tonight with some pretty serious heart problems. And so I know that all you Rejoice prayer warriors out there will be lifting him up in prayer. But before we start tonight's show, Coach Marley, would you mind voicing a prayer for Sam and his wife Sharon?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's pray. Father, we just pray for Sam, and we just pray for healing in his body. We just pray for the doctors to have wisdom and knowledge. Be with Mark right now. Just pray for peace for him, and just touch Sam's body. God, we just thank you that you sent your word and healed us and delivered us from destruction. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right, Sam, we're rooting for you, buddy. As you'll notice behind us, we don't have our RC banner back behind there. We have some banner that says 2024 Oklahoma State Champions of A1 football in the state. I like this banner, I think, a lot better, even though that one's real pretty, and I like it, and it's had a lot of good use, and we'll probably bring it back in next year. But this one looks better tonight, and it's got a nice ring to it. I mean, all of the hard work, all the days, the months, and for some years of blood, sweat, tears has resulted in the Rejoice Christian Eagles making history and setting the bar as high as it can be set last Friday at Chad Richardson Stadium on the campus of the University of Central Oklahoma in Edmond, Oklahoma, by stunning and defeating the Hooker Bulldogs by a score of 35-14 to become the first Rejoice Christian Eagles team to win a football championship and take home the coveted gold ball. Coach, what a night. I mean, this is what you work. I mean, and what's really cool about the Eagles is that, I mean, I don't think any of you coaches or the players have really come down yet off of that high. Yeah. Many of them come in here with smiles still on their faces. I think it's hard for that. They may be in that permanent position.
Yeah, it was an extremely special time. It just still seems surreal. I don't know. I've been floating for 72 hours now, just floating around, and I don't know. I need to get to Christmas break and make sure this is really real.
Really real, and that you're still not dreaming.
Yeah.
Well, but what a great night for you guys, especially you having Caden to be able to surprise Cale on a quick trip down here from West Point to watch the game in person, but also for you, Coach Johnson. I mean, you're coaching. You guys are coaching your sons, Cale and Jet, who are seniors, and then Coach Willis coaching his son, who played on and had his, he and then brother of Chase, Trace Sanchez, all you guys have family that is on this historical team, and all playing big roles in the victory. I mean, all four of them. You guys, it just has to be even sweeter. I mean, obviously it's sweet, but I know you guys will be the first to say that it's nice being coach of a championship team, but there's got to be a little bit more joy as you watch your own family, these young men, accomplish what they did. And I'll start with you, Coach Marley.
Just it wouldn't have been the same for me not having Caden there. I'm surprised that they let him come. They told him no initially on Tuesday, and then they came back on Wednesday, and he argued and pleaded his case with his TAC officer. And he said, this is a 24-year thing my dad's been doing. My brother's a senior. You got to let me go. And they did, as long as he was back in D.C. by midnight. And he flew out of Oklahoma City. I think he got back in D.C. at 11:45. So he made it. Just these guys, seeing their pictures with their sons, and then Jace with Trace, and then me with Kel. Those are moments frozen in time that I just, looking at those pictures, those will be family mementos and just held dear 30 years from now.
Yeah.
Just that moment, what a special time it was.
Coach Johnson, I mean, being able to see Jet get out there. And
it's been a long run. I remember 5th, 6th grade, little Jet, and see the man he's grown into be now, just to be with him. I mean, what better way to go out? Special.
And, of course, Casey, I mean, your son, the bar's been set high, but he got a lot of PT this year, and he was, again, an integral part of that team. What's it like to you to be able to coach your son?
Well, sometimes frustrating.
No, as a son, as a player, right?
Yeah.
I get it.
But no, it was unbelievably special. I mean, like we talked about, there's a lot of guys that never even get to experience the game. I played 3 sports nearly my whole life through college, and I never got to play in that championship game. And so for him to experience that, me after 18 years of coaching, but also be able, I've been coaching with Brent for 18 years, so Kel was wee little when we started, and now to see him a senior, and for Tristan to be able to play with him and, experience that. And, it's something you're never going to forget, and that I was talking, about those young guys, and that one group, the freshman group, they're like 21-1 in their last 22 games.
Not too bad.
And so it's exciting for those young guys to be able to, with an older group that they got to play with and experience that.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Chase, your brother, being able to coach him, how was that for you?
It was really cool. I enjoyed it. At one point, he was with the Fs and the running backs like last year before he got moved to the line. And so, I really got to coach him then. But now he moved to the line. Coach Riley's done a great job. But it was kind of funny because actually Blake Witten told me, I think a week or two ago, he was like, "Hey, Coach, do you realize you're on the first state or semifinal team, and now you're going to be a part of the first state champion team?" Because back in 2014 when I was playing, we went, and anyway, it's pretty cool. But then after the game, we always give Trace a hard time, and he said, "Hey, I finally did something you couldn't do." And I said, you know what? I was going to give some little snarky comment back, but then I was like, I don't have anything. So
Burn.
Yeah,
Burn.
but it was a good one. He's
Glad he did.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad. I'm happy for him.
I'm glad he can say that.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Well, before we before we recap last week's game, let's take a look at some clips of some highlights from last week's exciting win. Roll it, Todd. Here at UCO, 16 weeks after the preseason scrimmage up in Pawhuska. That's a long, grueling season, but they have arrived. And out of the 32 teams that have started the season, they are one of only 2 teams left standing, which is a testament to their work ethic, determination, grit, and listening to their coaches, and their coaches are putting them in the right place at the right time. And we're going to go fast. Double twin set again, same setup.
I like this. I like this idea.
Yeah, like the tempo. Hands off to Noah. This time he goes up the middle. He's got some room. He's at the
He's
20.
gone.
15, 10, 5, touchdown! Rejoice, Christian Eagles. And that's exactly what they needed to get right back onto the scoreboard after giving up that long play on Hooker's opening drive. Trips set on the right side of the line. And back to pass is
Across the
Robinson.
middle.
And over the middle. And
Come get that ball.
great
There you go.
job. Intercepted there by Holt Wilson and returning it
Good job.
from the 30. And they get a turnover of their own as that is a Durlast Roofing defensive stop. Holt Wilson picking it off. And again, Mark, you saw that ball just
yeah,
sail.
just started doing the wounded duck look as it's coming across there, and I'm not real sure who he was even throwing it
Well,
to.
I think it was just over. It was so far over his receiver's head. And Holt Wilson right there to pick it off, as he's done so many times this year. I think he just broke his big brother's record for freshman interceptions. Sorry, Chance. He holds it all by himself now. He was tied with you, but holds it by himself, the freshman record for interceptions for a freshman. Eagles back on offense with 22 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Noah joins Cale in the gun. Lieber in motion, has the snap, fakes the handoff, keeps it himself, able to pick up, still
hang
driving.
on to the ball, hang on to the ball. There you
And
go.
he's still going, busted out
Go,
the
go, go,
outside.
go.
He's at the 40, he's down at the 30, the 20, the 10, 5, touchdown. Rejoice Christian. He dropped the ball, and it is a touchdown,
Yeah,
Mark.
it's already in the end zone.
It came out, but he held on to it for a Billy Sims barbecue touchdown and the lead, 13-8. Mark, I thought they had him stopped right about the 50, but he just kept grinding, popped it to the outside, and was able to score on a nice run and just kept the motor running.
Absolutely.
1st and 10 Eagles here early in the second quarter. You got Twins down the bottom, single wide out on top. And you got Hale in the gun, joined back there by Noah. He hands it off to Noah, and he's got a
Good.
hole. He's at the 30. He makes
They got
another man
trouble now.
miss. He's at the 25, the 20, down to the 15, the 10, 5. Touchdown. Rejoice Christian Eagles as Noah Goodwin takes it in from 37 yards out. This time you're going to have a single wide out and Z at the top. You got that tight bunch set, trip bunch right there on the right side of the line. Cale that sees the shift as they go to the left. Hands off this time to Noah, and again, this time he's in for the score, and it counts. The Bulldogs' ball is on their own 15-yard line. 3:56 remaining in the ball game. Hooker's only got one timeout. Robinson in the gun, joined back there by Palacios. Back to pass is Robinson, looking down the field. He's got a man.
There you
And
go.
it's intercepted by ZZ Okaflazy at the 30. He's down at the 20, the 10. He's looking for a block, and he gets down inside the 5 to about the 2-yard line as the
Ball will be
Eagles.
placed short of the goal line. First
As
down.
you can hear a little bit of noise as the Eagles take it 1st and goal at the Hooker 1-yard line. Mark, how big is that? I think now you can just about close the door. I think that Coach Eckel was just about to jump out of the box up here and into the stands and go down and hug his team on that.
It's a long fall down there, too.
It is a long one. He wouldn't have felt it until he hit the bottom.
You felt that one coming, though. Whenever he came back and threw that ball up and just watched it float up in the air, and you just felt that one coming.
And Z says, I know what to do with this.
Yep.
And he did, made some good moves out there. Got it about the 28, returned it about the 1. Marley in the gun, hands off to Camion, and it's a touchdown. Rejoice Christian Eagles as Camion Compton Nero takes it in from 1 yard out to increase the lead to 34-14 with 3:41 remaining in your ball game. And folks, get out the hammer, start nailing, because that coffin needs to be shut. They're going to have to get one snap, because as soon as they set they're ready for play, they got to snap it. Ball's going to be at the 2, 1st and goal there. They'll say at the 1, 1st and goal there. And they start the clock with 7 seconds remaining. Gives it to Palacios, and I think they stopped him, Mark. It's a goal line stand, and the Eagles have won the Class
the end of the
A
ball game.
Division I state championship here in Edmond, Oklahoma, as the celebration starts on the field, as the Eagles are jumping for joy as we are up here, as they have won this state championship 35-14. And if you look at the scoreboard, it says it all. Class A1 state champs Rejoice Christian, as they have done the job. So guys, did you enjoy watching it again? And it's got to be what, probably the 10th time for most of you?
Not even close, way more.
just over and over and over. Well, just kind of going over the, as you saw the highlights there, we'll go over the highlights. Hooker, we didn't show you any of the Hooker stuff, but they won the toss, deferred to the second half, and Luke Schaefer, he took the opening kickoff for a really good return at the Eagle 15 and went all the way out 42 yards to the Hooker 43-yard line, crossed midfield, and after a hold on first down on a short running play on second 16 from the Hooker 49, the ball was intercepted at the Hooker 33 and returned back to the Hooker 44, and an illegal block against the Bulldogs during the return set the Bulldogs up at 1st and 10 at their own 31-yard line. And the coach, the wind was just brutal. And, I mean, it just seemed like anytime either team tried to throw down the field against the wind, the ball just looked like it had been shot and just died, which is what happened on that pass play.
Well, yeah, that first pass play, two things. One, we didn't touch number 5 coming off the edge. And secondly, Kel shouldn't have thrown that ball. I mean, it kind of a desperation. He kind of did a jump pass. And so anyway, it was just, I think we're just not settled in yet and trying too hard in that moment, and we missed an assignment and just wasn't a good start on offense right there.
Well, and then, like I say, we had, I mean, they were still, you know, they had it on second 7. They're still on their own 34, but we've seen this guy do it on film, and it was not really a shock that we saw him do it. And that's their big, fast tailback, Palacios. He broke off a big run of 65 yards before being shoved out of bounds on a touchdown-saving play by Camion Comptonero at the 1-yard line, where on first down, their quarterback Robinson and the Bulldogs went across for the 1-yard plunge, and the Bulldogs, after the successful 2-point PAT, had an early 8-0 lead. And Coach, Echo, I asked you this: what's going through your mind at this time? Because I mean, this is what we've seen on film for them. You know, all the film we've looked is they are a running team. They're a big bruising team, and they did what they did so often out throughout the year. They just give it to their tailback, got the run game, and go down. What's going through your thoughts though as they scored there early?
I mean, well, it wasn't an ideal start, but you know, it was just a simple mistake, just a miss is all it was. We had fit everything right, so I still felt confident we would get it the next time, honestly. So,
yeah. So I mean, so Coach Willis, I mean, obviously the INT on the end of their field, they score, they get a successful 2-point conversion that resulted, you know, like say TD. Can you remind me of, you know, I was reminded of what you told the players last week in practice, or the week before in practice, about what it's going to be like because you may be behind.
Yeah, I needed somebody to remind me of that when I was up there in the box watching that. Yeah, I just told them, you know, if we make mistakes, we get behind, it's okay. It's, you know, we had not trailed in a game all season since that Cassia Hall game, which is, you know, it's really unheard of. But you know, we fell behind early, and you know, it wasn't a whole lot of what they were doing. We just, you know, made 2 mistakes, and they're a good football team, obviously. But I knew we couldn't continue to play that way. But within the next minute, I felt a whole lot better about what was going on. So I felt, all right, we're okay. We're okay. And I think the boys did too.
Well, yeah, and I think what you're alluding to is that the Eagles were able to take the ensuing kickoff, and Hooker attempted an onside kick that was recovered by Trey Sanchez, Chase's brother, at the
Huge.
Eagle 49-yard line.
I want to say real quick about Trace.
Okay.
Because he recovered 2 of those kicks.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I allude to that later.
Well,
yeah.
I'll just tell you about Trace, and hopefully he doesn't mind me saying this. We practice that every day on onside kick because obviously it's cost us in the past. Trace is in my group, and he is the worst one onside kicks. But that just shows you he's a gamer. You know? When
right.
the pressure's on, he makes the play.
We had a couple of those guys out Friday night that turned it up. Yeah, so he did recover that one.
Yeah.
So he wasn't the worst on that night.
He was
obvious.
actually, I'm glad he did.
Yeah, and so and on 3rd and 8 from the Hooker 49, ZZ took a little comeback screen pass from Marley for 16 yards, and the Eagles were in business. And Coach, just like he's done time and time again, He catches that ball, plants his foot. You would think that they would see enough film on him saying he's probably going to spin and go this way because he gets out of that initial tackle almost every time.
Yeah, he's not. A 5-yard pass to him is a 15-yard pass. And every one of those short, and that was a screen play, so he gets going vertical and he's got a few blockers ahead. If he doesn't break those, he's very close every single time we run those middle tunnel screens with him.
So before that play, we have it at 3rd and 8 at the 49. If we don't make that pass play, and it's 4th down now and 4th and 8 from the 49, are you going to go for it at midfield? I mean, it's a 7-8 ball game, or are you putting it away to try to? I know what Casey's going to say. Well, heck yeah, we're going to go for it. But what's going through? You've got to have that in the back of your mind, thinking, okay, if we don't make it, what are you going to do?
I think we probably would have went for it because punting in that situation, we'd be punting against the wind, and the wind was horrible going towards the waterfall.
22 miles an hour.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was, not a good situation to punt. I mean, to go for it or to punt there. So it would have went for it. I think at midfield, I felt like they really had the momentum, and we had to turn it around, and thankfully we did quickly.
Yeah. Well, because on 1st and 10 from the 33, Noah busted one off right guard and outran the secondary. I mean, just as soon as he got through that initial line, busted through for a 33-yard touchdown with 9:22 left in the first quarter, and the PAT was good. And the Eagles, again, they came right back and answered that score that Hooker just had to go up, to bring it within 1.7 to 8. The Eagles forced a 3-and-out, and I think they had 4, didn't they, Coach? 5? They had 4 or 5.
It was a while before they got another first down.
Yeah, so the Eagles forced a 3-and-out, and the Eagles had their ball at their own 28-yard line after the Hooker punt. And the Eagles were unable to move the ball and had to punt it back to Hooker, where they had it first down at their own 39. The Eagle D forced another 3-and-out, so back-to-back 3-and-outs forced a punt. And after a great roll, the Eagles were going to have to start the possession at their own 2-yard line. And the Eagles drove it all the way out to the 45, where Noah put the ball, unfortunately, on the ground, and the Bulldogs recovered it, giving them first down at the Eagle 45-yard line. And it looked like, okay, well, we might be in for a dogfight going back and forth, and it may be who's going to make the least amount of mistakes, who's going to have the least amount of turnovers. And Coach, you just stopped them for your second, third and out. I'll give this to Coach Eckel. You just stopped them for your second, third and out. What's going through your mind after a nice drive was stopped by, or actually Coach Willis, after it was stopped by another turnover? I mean, our second of the game here early in the ball game on the fumble.
Yeah, I mean, there was already 2 turnovers in the first quarter, which was pretty uncharacteristic. But take any positive away from it, we were moving the ball. So I think by that time we had settled in offensively and kind of had found some things. Kind of saw what they were doing and how we wanted to attack it. But, also when the defense is playing that well, I mean, I don't want to put all the pressure on the defense by turning the ball over, but I kind of figured that, we're going to get another shot pretty quick. We just got to hold on to the football.
Yeah. And Chase, as far as so one of your running backs putting the ball on the ground, do you pull him over and say anything to him when he comes off the field at that time?
Yeah, I just told him, I said, listen, that's probably, I think it was his first or one of his first fumbles of the whole season.
I can remember.
I'm talking at practice. I'm talking anywhere. I mean, it doesn't happen often. And I just told him, I said, listen, you're going to have a lot of opportunity to run the ball tonight or today. And I just said, man, when you get it, I said, it's never a bad thing when you end up with the ball. So I said, when in doubt, it was kind of a read, but it was a straight give, and we just messed it up. But I said, you're going to have another opportunity. And a couple plays later, he ends up making a pretty good play.
Yeah, he does. So, I mean, like I say, after picking up a first down, the Hooker, after picking up a first down, after an unsportsmanlike penalty against Hooker, set him back to the 50. And on 2nd and 25, the Bulldogs tried to go to the air when Holt Wilson picked off the pigskin for his 7th interception of the year, breaking the freshman record for interceptions, which just happened to be his brother Chance's. And we had it at the Eagle 27 is where he intercepted. He returned it 19 yards out to the 46-yard line. And Coach Johnson, you were saying you think that may be also the record for any person in as far as throughout the year.
Yeah, that ties the school record for single season.
Yeah, so not only did he do the freshman record, he set the record for, you say tied?
Yeah, tied.
Tied the, okay, single season. But he did break Big Brother's.
Pretty good start as a freshman.
Yeah, pretty good start. And so, again, we were out at the 46-yard line. We're on 1st and 10. Houdini, a.k.a. Hale Marley, somehow escaped the grasp of several Bulldogs at the line of scrimmage and popped it out to the outside for a 54-yard run. And one of the pursuing defenders was able to knock the ball out of Cale's arm at the 1-yard line. But, I mean, with this tomahawk chalk, you could when you're up in the booth, you could see it coming. He was winding up, and he came down. But it just a gratuitous bounce right to Cale, and he was able to recover it for the end zone in the lead with approximately 5 seconds remaining in the first quarter with the PAT good. And the coach, I mean, looking back at that play, not only was it the determination of Cale impressive, so was the O-line, and we're going to have the line coaches in here in a little bit to talk about, but they never stopped blocking, even though it looked like the play was stopped. Like you'd said, you'd already gone to the iPad and was saying, all right, let me look and see what we're going to call next.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you hear the roar of the crowd, and you look up, and he's still going. But
I didn't know what happened. I actually, the way that we had turned the ball over so much at that point, I thought he had fumbled again, and it went out to the side, and he picked it up and was running down the sidelines. Or something. But anyway, yeah, when I looked up, he was about the 25-yard line. I had no idea what had happened.
And I think if you go look at the replay, our guys just kept driving, waiting for the whistle, never heard it. They had several guys that thought, okay, well, we've got him, plays over, and they just kind of start relaxing. And they're big, 6'2", 220-pound tight end. I think was more interested in tackling Carter Acree and, man slamming him to the ground than he was to finding the ball. So good job, Carter, on taking the guy's eye off the prize and sustaining that block, enabling Cale to get out there. But just a great play. Just a great determined, type run.
Well, it was really close to. Zizi almost could have blocked 6, but I'm glad he didn't because it maybe could have been called for a. I don't think it had been a block in the back, but it was. And I asked Kel on that run. He actually was looking inside and saw number 23, and he said, I felt like if I could beat 23, then I had it. He had no idea there was someone. Usually when you get the sideline, there's no one outside of you, and he had no idea 6 was out there, but. We also saw the monkey jump on his back, and he said that, driving in that pile, when he bounced outside, he said he got about 20 yards and felt the lactic acid just jump all over him. I don't, he's not in great sprint shape probably right now anyway. But I'm just thankful. If you look at that replay, when 6 knocks it out, it goes down on the ground, and Kel kicks it. And he kicks it just enough that it goes right out in front of him.
Not on purpose. It just goes down in his stride.
To fall on his chest. If he wouldn't have kicked it, the ball would have stayed back behind him.
Right.
Or he could have kicked it square and knocked it straight out the back of the end zone for a touchback.
Right.
But he just barely nicked it with his foot and fell right on it. So
practice that.
I think that,
Yeah.
That's a good job by Coach Johnson telling those guys how to do that. So in the second quarter, so your first quarter score was that put up the Eagles at 14-8 going into the second quarter. And then after forcing their third 3-and-out of the first half, the Eagles took over at their own 35-yard line after 2 big pass plays to ZZ. Picked up 24 yards. The Eagles had it first down at the Bulldog 41, and that's when the wrecking ball, Noah Goodwin, said, I'll take it from here, fellas. And once again, busted through the O-line on the right side behind just absolute terrific blocking by the O-line. Planted his foot at the 30 and just raced 41 yards to pay dirt to increase the Eagle lead to 20-8, and the PAT made it 21-8. And, Coach, I know it sounds like a broken record, but that O-line against a much bigger D-line was just so impressive with the holes that they were able to open up. They were able to just – you don't need a whole lot for Noah, and he hits that hole so quick, allowing him to get to that second level. And if you don't think his speed is deceptive, just ask their D-back, who goes – he's Mr. Everything on both sides of the ball, and he had the angle on the guy. If you look at the play when Noah busts through the line, their D-back is 5 yards down the line further than Noah is with the angle, and he just kind of chalantly starts going that way, and then he realizes, oh, this guy's pretty fast, and just outruns him to the end zone for the touchdown.
Jace, did you work on that?
Yeah, we worked on that a little bit. I didn't teach him to jump that high, but he did work on it a little bit the week before. But no, while I got the mic, I do have to shout out that was a great run, first and foremost.
Yeah.
But then I actually am finally going to give little brother some credit. He had a great block on that play, as did a lot of the other linemen, but he stayed on that block, which is what Coach Riley last week had told him, because Cale had one of those plays versus Christian Heritage where he said, if he stays on that block, he's going to go score. And he did this time, and he, had that guy hooked up and driving him down the field, and then Noah just made a great play and outran him. So, I mean, it's just kind of the kids are so coachable, and they just listen and do what you tell them to. And when you have kids like that, life's just so much easier to make those things work. Because, I mean, you got talented kids, then they just translate it to the field. It's a pretty good success.
Yeah, it's I'm grateful too that Trace got better and better and was ready to go, because the day before at practice we talked about potentially getting you and him and Bull in the ring at Big Cat Drill, and Trace might not have been healthy if y'all would have done that.
He might not have been alive either. I'm going to get after him. Yeah. He knows. I told Coach senior year we're getting after it.
Yeah, that's all right.
Once he's 18.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, Coach Eckel, I mean, have you had as many 3-and-outs in the first half this year in a game? The D forced another their fourth 3-and-out, and we're just in the first half. And I don't know if they've had that many in a full game all season against the really good teams.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm not sure. I'll take it, though. We were enjoying it.
Yeah, because that's one of your goals, right? Every game is to lead in 3-and-outs.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we want 3-and-outs. We want to get the ball back for our offense. But as long as they're not crossing that plane and scoring points, we're pretty satisfied with what the defense is doing. So.
Yeah. So, and then the Eagles, however, after driving to the Hooker 28, I mean, we're all the way down to 28, and we've got it 2nd and 8, and really just a really good interception by their D-back at the Rejoice 4-yard line after both teams forced punts on a turnover and downs. Hooker had it 2nd and 3 at the Eagles 43 with 14 seconds left in the half. Kind of go through the thought process on throwing down there at we've got it 2nd and 8. Is it just because we're running out of time on the clock?
No, actually we called a run play. I would guess 70% of our passes the other night were Cale checking, and so all of the short game, Dizizi, the hitches, we called a couple of those, but most of them were run plays, and you could see him talking to Noah and then talking to the line. And then we're on the field thinking, oh, okay, he's throwing it here, which worked out well when we were throwing outs and hitches. But then when we were putting the ball up in the air, that one shouldn't have been a wind thing. The wind actually should have helped him on that because we were going with the wind. I just think he didn't put enough on it, and Six made a good play on it and turned around and picked it off. But it got to a little bit where I was like, just run the ball or throw it short, because they hadn't stopped it. And our whole offense is predicated on, if we think we can get the one-on-one matchup, we got to let him take it. And it's proved to be so valuable all year, and you don't want to say, don't do that, just run the ball, because then we wouldn't have had all those hitches and outs to ZZ and Ben Nichols had a few too, that were big first downs at times.
Well, and then when the Eagles, there was just a few seconds left, 14 ticks left on the half when the Eagles, we got our second interception that happened. Luke Schaefer stepped in front of the intended Hooker receiver at the 21, and the Eagles ran out the first half clock. And so at halftime, the Eagles led 21-8. And whoever wants to answer this, going into halftime, you're up 21-8. I mean, obviously, you got to be pleased with the halftime score, but I'll ask Coach Eckel and Coach Johnson, what are you telling your boys as far as what to expect and what to do on defense? They're playing a great game up to that point.
I just told them at halftime, first thing I said was they're going to get the ball back first. We got to go out and keep doing what we've been doing and stop them and get the ball back. I said, if we stop them this first drive, they're really going to start to get desperate in their play calling, and then we'll be able to make them real predictable. They were honestly pretty predictable anyway, but we knew we could get them in some situations they weren't comfortable in if we stopped them there and got the ball back, and I knew our offense was going to keep moving the ball, so we felt good about that.
Yeah. And then Coach Johnson, as far as your...
That was it. They kept They didn't change up a whole lot. So, yeah, like I said, it was pretty predictable.
But did you expect them to? I mean, being down 21-8, did you
I
think?
think I asked him at half. I was like, "What else could they do? I
Right.
don't know what else they could do." And that was the plan: just first down, second down, get them to third and long, and they'll throw it to us.
Yeah, and then on offense, Coach Willis pretty much just going to start taking the air out of the ball and see if we can get some longer sustained drives.
I honestly try to score every play. It doesn't work all the time, but no, I just told them, we're up 2 scores, and we probably should be up quite a bit more. We have to take care of the football. But like they said, if we felt like if we got a stop and a score, that honestly the game was ours. Because if we got up 3 scores, we didn't think they were going to have enough time, even the way they operate, to come back and beat us. So it's always the first drive after half. We always say is the most important one when it's that time.
Sure.
And so that's what it was again, and just to focus only on that, and they did, and worked out for us. So.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that second half of play. We're going to take about a 1-minute timeout. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. We've got a special guest tonight. You're not going to want to miss that. And then we'll have a couple of the other coaches slide in here and talk about second half play. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, well, as you can see, we've got a very special guest here tonight. You guys hear us talk about, for those that aren't familiar, you hear us talk about the Rise Above recipient of each game. And as you know, last Friday it was given to the entire senior class just for, again, because of their character, their diligence, their work ethic, and then just their attitude. And that's all based on this guy right here, in his Arkansas Razorback top, Will Lambley, and we want to welcome him to the table here tonight. So, Will, welcome here to the table, and tell us a little bit about what this. You were at the game, saw you after the game, and just was excited to see you down there, and then afterwards in the gym at the celebration. How did that make you feel as an alumni? What was the emotions that you felt?
I was just really excited because you talked about that Rise Above Award. And when I think of that, I really don't think about myself. I think of a lot of these coaches and people that have helped me and helped so many people that have came across this Rejoice program, just more than anything, transformed their life. Because a lot of football programs, whether it's college or high school, talk about culture, and then they talk about winning too. But I think Rejoice, more than almost any program I've ever came across, does a great job of showing what it means to win, but also do it the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. And so how does it feel, and what does it mean to you? Because I know you're a humble guy, but to each week, realize that, you know what, they're giving a Rise Above jersey, which is my number whenever I was in high school, and they're giving that jersey out to somebody that has to earn it the week before. What's your feelings on that whenever you hear that each week? Because I know you listen every week when you can.
I think it's cool because it shows that football is so much bigger than just a game, and sometimes it goes to maybe a player that might not be the most talented on the team, but plays a big part on the team, whether it's through their attitude or just their work ethic or just the type of leader they are. So I think it just shows how it takes so much more than just your talent to win games. And, man, you have to have all those attributes to help the team achieve its full potential.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Coach Marley, what does it mean to you when you get a chance and Will comes back? Because I know at least once a year you try to have him, especially on this. I think you had him come in and talk to the guys. What's it meant to you and your program to have a guy like Will?
It's instant culture, instant what we talk about in action. They're just, if you can't be positive by being around Will, and if you can't, if Will doesn't make your day go better, if Will doesn't make you take self-inventory and evaluate the things maybe that you've been frustrated about and realize that you need to suck it up, Buttercup, right, and have a better day and get going, then I don't really know what will. I mean, there's not much that can help you if you're negative and you're having a bad day and you're around him. And he's just so positive. These coaches can attest to it. He's one of the most positive people I've ever met in my life, and probably has more reason to be frustrated and down in the natural with circumstances of what life once was for him and how he's adjusted. I think he's probably more positive now than when he could see totally with 20/20 vision. When he's a freshman, and then before this happened his sophomore year. So. I don't know. I'm just blown away by him, and I'm so grateful for him and when he comes around.
And Will has his own podcast where he actually brings people in, does his interview like this, and talks to people, some positive thinking people and people that he has. Tell us a little bit about your podcast and how people can watch it, Will.
Yeah, so it's called the Rise Above Podcast. You can look it up on any.
Go figure.
On any say I got it from Coach Marley, the name and everything, but we had another name, but it was just terrible. So, but we stuck with the Rise Above Podcast. You can find it on any podcast platforms, and every week we have a new, different coach, leader, athlete on to just share their story and how by going to Christ they've been able to rise above. For instance, this week we had Spencer Schrader, who kicked at Notre Dame last year, now has been kicking for the Kansas City Chiefs this year, and he talked about how it's so important to put our life mission not on, how well does something go in a sport, but how we can glorify God no matter what. So that's just kind of a little bit about what the podcast is about, and it's awesome doing it every week because I get fired up hearing different people's stories and how they've been able to rise above different trials they face.
Yeah, that's outstanding. I mean, that gives you a little bit insight to Will and the type of people that he talks to. It's not just kids on campus. I mean, he goes out and gets people that can make a difference if you just listen to what they say and try to not necessarily pattern your life after them, but maybe take some of the things that they do that's successful for them, but especially whenever you're talking about your life with Christ and how you live your life and to stay on a positive note. But I don't know if, like Coach Marley said, I echo his sentiments. If you can't be a positive person after listening to this guy and what he has to say, then you may have to go, see a doctor or something. I don't know. There may be something wrong upstairs. No, just in all seriousness, Will, we really enjoy whenever you can come back and spend some time with us. And how was it like getting to see Caden and to, being able to kind of reconnect? And I know you and Caden, you chat or text each other or call each other from time to time. How was it to you and him both together be able to experience that?
Yeah, it was awesome because just him and so many other people that I played with to see that just from Coach Marley and the other coaches that over the years, a lot of coaches, if they haven't won a state championship, want to change the culture. But the cool thing about Rejoice is, the cultures never change.
Right.
It's just stayed the same. And you've just been able to see that through just life transformation in people's lives, people coming to Christ and then growing closer as brothers. I know that's one of their goals every year at Rejoice, to become a brotherhood. And I think a perfect example was this team this year. You could just see the love. You didn't need to be able to see it, but just the love on this team from the leaders all the way down to the freshmen. I think something that's really special and something that me and Caden and many other teammates still have, that love that was created in some of the good and bad times playing football at Rejoice.
That's why they call it a family, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming in tonight, Will. We're going to take about another 45-second timeout, and we'll get a couple other coaches in here, and we'll close out the show after we talk about the second half. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. All right, well, welcome back to the Rejoice Christian Eagles Coaches Show. Looking at the second half, after receiving the kickoff, Hooker, and I will say we're joined by coaches Warren and you guys. Riley. Okay, yeah. That's my bad. It's not down on my script. I know first names. I just don't know last names all the time. But anyway, after receiving the kickoff, Hooker began second half play from their own 26, and the defense yet again forced another 3 and out. I think that's their 5th of the night, and the Eagles were in business at the 42. The Eagles chewed up a lot of time, which was precious if you're on the Hooker side. And when they went on an 11-play, 58-yard drive and scored on a 2-yard run by Noah behind the right side of the O-line for his 3rd touchdown of the night with 3:06 remaining in the 3rd. The PAT was good. And Coach Warren, I ask you that as far at that point, actually I'll ask Coach Riley, as far as that point in your offensive line, I mean, you got to be pleased with the holes these guys. I mean, because you're on the opposite side of some big old boys, some 200-plus 20-pounders, pretty much across the line. How are you feeling about your O-line at this point?
Well, I'm just super proud of them. I mean, obviously the story was all week was how big they were and how small we were. And, I kind of challenged them, and it was kind of a slow build into it. And before the game, I just told them that they're good enough. Go do it. And show them right away that it's not going to go the way they expect it to go. And they did an unbelievable job.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the Bulldogs did go, and that ended third quarter play. The Eagles leading at that time 28-8 after that touchdown run by Noah, which ended third quarter of play. So in the fourth quarter, the Bulldogs, they went on an 80-yard drive, and they scored a little 5-yard pass. But more importantly, Coach Warren, at that time, your D-line is not making it easy on them. And that most important thing, the clock, they had to chew up a lot of time with only leaving little over 5 minutes remaining in the game.
They did, and it was great watching them guys. Like before the game, I told them they were going to dominate it.
And again,
and they did.
We're outsized on the defensive side, just like we were on the offensive side. That the D-line against their big. I mean, you just look at them and they're just huge.
We were overmatched size-wise, but I think our quickness and athleticism they couldn't handle it.
And never adjusted.
Never adjusted once. Our guys were in on almost every other tackle, it looked like when you watch film.
Yeah, it was a beautiful thing to watch.
It was great.
And then after that score, the Eagles, they recovered Trey Sanchez, as we were talking about earlier, recovered his second onside kick attempt. Maybe somebody had been talking to Coach Willis that was actually from Hooker whenever, because he said he was the worst on the onside kick, but he said, I'm going to prove him wrong, and he did as he recovered that. I mean, just great recovery. Hit right to him, great hands, went right down, and was able to get it. The Eagles did go 3 and out, but then they intercepted the ball at the Hooker 31 and returned it to the Bulldog 1 yard line, and that's where Coach Eckel pretty much let out a yelp that was heard by the entire second floor of that massive press box. As you look over, and I mean, he's just up doing some type of dance over there with fists pumping the air and just yelping. Just like I say, you could tell that he knew at that time it's over. I mean, it looked like it was over before then, but that was like the no doubter. And on 1st and goal, after that interception, Z got this close from being able to punch it in because it's on the 1 foot line, and Camion's able to finish off the scoring for the Eagles. And you heard the nail, the last coffin being shut down. The last nail in that coffin being hammered in, and the Eagles sideline, they were starting to celebrate. I mean, you had 3:41 left in the ball game. However, that wasn't the punctuation mark. That was put on on the game when the scrappy, undersized, determined, big-hearted defense made a goal line stand as time was ran out to keep Hooker from scoring. And then they joined everyone else on the sideline as the Eagles came away with a 35-14 win to capture their first football championship, and that gold ball right there. And, I mean, how fitting was it that defense was able to rise up and able to stop on a goal line stand? Coach Warren.
Well, considering we were told they were bigger than us, and we stoned them right there on the line.
Yeah.
That was great. Just watching the linebackers and the linemen come up and he had nowhere to run.
Yeah, exactly. And were you kind of surprised they were actually trying to score with, basically and I guess what, Casey was saying, if you're a senior, for your senior class,
we'd have been doing the same thing.
Yeah. But again, great job by the line, just not to let that happen. Again, that's when the celebration really started. Like I say, you had guys on the other side; they were already pretty much celebrating, but that really just punctuated that and put the cherry on top of it.
I was super proud of our kids too in that moment. Super proud of them because that wouldn't have changed the celebration, but it would have changed
dampened it a little.
It would have a little bit, the mood and
that just added to it.
No, well, and rightfully so that they did that because they did that. You take the whole game defensively. I think they had 3 first downs at the end of the third quarter. That's just the way we played D, and so it was rightfully so. We do that there at the end when they're trying to score on us, and we just don't let them in. And I'm super proud of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, looking at some of the leaders for the game, passing, Cale was 9 for 14.
I think that's last week's.
Oh, is that last week's?
Yeah, that's last week's.
Do you have the updated?
That would be this week's.
Okay. Let's see here. Well, let me look in the back. So we'll get the right ones out here.
Yeah.
So you had Cale, who was, we'll get it here, passing 14 of 21, 3 interceptions, 123 yards. And then rushing, you had Cale, 10 rushes for 103 yards, 102 net, they say. You had Noah, 19 rushes for 91 yards net. And then you had Camion with his 2 rushes, 3 yards, and a touchdown. Noah had 3 touchdowns, and Cale 1 on the ground. In receiving, you had Zizi Okufuluezi with 7 catches for 72 yards. Ben Nichols, 5 catches for 35 yards. Neil Lieber had a catch for 8 yards, and Camion 1 for 8. And then on tackles, I think I do have the right tackles here. Well, we'll actually go over Coach Willis as far as you've got players that can play.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you had several guys making the play. What stuck out the most for you on offense?
Just resiliency, I guess. When you're on that big of stage and you fall behind early and you've turned the ball over a couple of times, you never know. You never know how you're going to react, if you're going to kind of get down. But we actually fought harder after that. And, this team all year has been kind of a we over me mentality, and they've kind of pushed that towards them. And honestly, any player that was called upon to make a play at any time was willing to do it, and they didn't care who did it, who got the credit. They were happy that, anybody was making the play. 11 guys doing the job, and because if they didn't, we wouldn't have been successful. We needed 11 guys every play with blocks downfield, second level, offensive line, staying on blocks. Because even in the play that Kale scored on, that everyone thought was down, it turns out to be a pretty big play in the game.
Yeah.
And I try to tell the kids that you never know. You never know. You never know when one catch for 7 yards is going to be a first down that leads us into a touchdown,
Right.
rather than punting.
Right.
And these guys have just kind of bought into that. And they walked away as champions because of it. And
Yep,
so,
absolutely.
Yep.
On the defensive side, you had Cade Schaefer with 9 tackles, 1 solo, 2 tackles for a loss, and a half a sack. Maverick Gwynn, 16 tackles, 7 solos, 3 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks. Just a massive game. Karsten Losey, 6 tackles, 3 solo, and a tackle for a loss. Carter Acree, 7 tackles, 5 solo. You had Jet McCain, had 8 tackles, 4 solo, a half a tackle for loss. And then you had Kale with 8 tackles, 6 solo, 1.5 tackles for loss, and then you had interceptions by Holt Wilson and Luke Schaefer. And Coach Eckel, what more can you say about this defense that hasn't already been said, and what we've said, especially in the second half of the season, the playoffs? They have played with such confidence, and if we said it all year long, we're not the biggest. And Friday night, that was easily the biggest size deficit that we have faced all year. I would think this has to be one of your, if not the most pleasing years of coaching that you've ever had.
Yeah, I thought about it over the weekend. We played Pensacola in the first week of October, and since that game, the only team that has scored at least 2 touchdowns on our starting defense was in the state title game. Just thinking about, we were talking about records earlier. In that game, Cade Schaefer with his 9 tackles, he broke our single-season tackle record, which was Brian Mead's record, so that's a pretty good record to break.
Yes.
I believe he finished with 178 or 179 tackles, which was phenomenal. We had, I think, Karsten Losey and Wade White might have moved up on the sack board. We got guys on the interception board, and those are just some of the individual accomplishments. But they just played so well as a team, and that's why that happened. Everyone did their job so well. It was a very fun season, definitely.
And just like Coach Wilder said, I love the we, not me attitude.
Right. They don't care who's making the tackle as long as someone is, and they fly to the ball, and they do a really good job of it.
Well, and that'll lead us into our broadcast player, our Jersey Mike's broadcast players of the game. This guy on defense had the game of his life, and what a night to decide to do that. Time after time, we just kept calling his name. We're used to calling some other guy's name, but we just kept calling this guy's name out on defensive play after defensive play. And, he stepped up his game Friday night. And not only was our Jersey Mike's broadcast player of the game, but he was also named, and I guess it's the OSSAA, he was named the player of the game for the game by that broadcast crew, and that's and the OSSAA, and that's Maverick Goose Gwynn. Coach, talk about a guy that has played his heart out. What did you say to Maverick after the game?
Oh, I hugged him like I hugged a lot of the boys. But, yeah, I told him he played phenomenal. It was pretty stubborn on Hooker's part to keep going toward him because he just kept stuffing them and making play after play after play. But he was ready for the challenge. He was ready to play.
Yeah, and that he did. Like I say, just the game. Obviously, I think it's his biggest game he's had this year as far as number of tackles or anything like that.
Yeah, he's had a solid year. He's been so good all year. But, yeah, it really showed in the championship game, that's for sure.
And, Coach Warren, I'm sure that's probably a lot because of your coaching, right? Oh, so you got your back. Okay.
Yeah.
But he was
I did get to work with him a little bit this week.
I was going to say, because he played a lot around close to the line.
He played on the line as a 5-tech for us.
I coached him for 16 weeks, and then I give him to Coach Warren for 1 period on Monday.
See what he can do?
Hey.
Well, our big player of the game, this guy's another one that just played his guts out. He's done it all year. He's played through adversity. He's worked his tail off to get back in tip-top shape and punctuated that that hard work with a great night offensively, but made the big play of the game when he just refused to go down. We talked about it earlier, and scored on that exciting run, one that his dad thought he had been stopped at the line of scrimmage, and that, of course, is Cale Marley with that great 52-yard run. Coach Willis, when you were watching that play, did you? We like you said, we knew he hadn't been stopped.
Yep.
But I mean, did you feel like, okay, well, they're going to blow the whistle, and here he pops it on the outside?
No, I mean, I saw the pile keep moving, and honestly, I'm trying to see where we're going to be running our next play from, and then he pops out and, you know, hits down the sideline. But I told the guys, my chance might have been in there, Coach Riley, and earlier in the week, leading up to it, and I told him, I said, you know, honestly, I said, don't worry about it. I said, number 2 is not going to let us lose. If he's out there on the field, he's going to find a way to win. And obviously it took the efforts of a lot of guys, but I just knew, I've known him since he was, you know, tiny, that's the type of kid he is. I mean, he wasn't going to get tackled. He was going to make sure that he got in that end zone and scored. So I was glad, you know, I could do without the interceptions. I know that.
Right.
But, you know, other than that, you know, just the leader that he is.
I think he made up for it.
Yeah, well, the confidence. I mean, the kids are confident in him no matter what. And, you know, it was a joy for him to be able to be out there his senior year. And, I mean, what any better way to finish than the way we did. So it was awesome.
And on that play, Coach Riley, I mean, how pleased were you with your guys? Again, they could have stopped just like the defense did at that time for Hooker, but they just kept driving because they didn't hear a whistle, and they just kept pushing that kind of that lane over, allowing him to get outside. I mean, how pleased were you with that exact play?
Well, I was with Coach Marley, and I didn't know. I didn't have a clue. I thought it was over. And then you hear the crowd start cheering, and I don't know what for.
Right.
And all of a sudden I can just see through the crowd Cale's head bending out toward the sideline. And you think, okay, great, he's going to get a nice – and then he's heading toward the end zone. Holy cow, we're going to score here.
Yeah.
But it was, as far as the O-line part of it, probably wasn't the cleanest block play that we had, but they continued to fight. And if I haven't got to go back and, like, as an evaluator on the film yet, like I would, like if we were playing next week. But looking back and just kind of sorting through the highlights and watching it, there was a lot of push up front. And it wasn't just a few plays here and there. It was pretty consistent all night that we were moving the line of scrimmage in our favor on both sides of the ball up front. And so it was pretty much complete domination. And they had plays that they stopped us for 1 and 2, and they're a good team. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But we got after them up front, and it was very rewarding.
It was a dominating performance on both sides of the ball, which was, like I say, I think they were just in shock.
Absolutely.
You know, I think
they did not have any idea.
And I think coming out in the warm-ups, they probably thought, you know, I don't know if these guys are even going to be able to hang with us even after a quarter. They had to, again, it just had to have been shocking to them to do that. And then as far as our offensive player of the game, this young man has been such a great addition to this team this season. He enabled some of the workload to be taken off of Cale's shoulders in the running game, and teams just couldn't key on Cale due to this great hard-nosed running and speed of this young man. It also allowed Cale time to completely heal up and keeping the defense honest. I mean, he had 91 yards on 19 carries and 3 touchdowns on a night on the night, and of course that is no good one. I mean, what a load he is out there. And I mean, you just have to, you know, that with him and Cale, and then having Camion in there, but especially him and Cale, when they can't key on Cale, and if that line just gives him that much room, I love watching, and if you go back and watch the film, you'll see it in this game where he plants once he gets to that second level, turns it, goes north and south, and he's just off to the races, and he'll outrun D-backs. I mean, how fun is that to watch?
I was telling someone the other day, he might be the best running back that I've had. I mean, I've had some really good ones. You go to Andrew Crow and
Nate Anderson.
And Nate Anderson and Trevor White, and you know, had some at Victory too. But you know, when you take speed and power and drive and all of that, he's really impressive. He's right up there at the top.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want you guys to say, and any of you can speak to it, but what do you want to say to the fans this year? I mean, because all year long they stepped it up, but here in the playoffs, especially last Friday night with the 12th man in full force and full-throated, and it was probably the biggest crowd that we have had this year, even at home. And whenever Mark and I, as we said on the air, we heard these guys before we ever even got out of the car. We're driving into the parking lot. We hear the horns, and just throughout the entire game, they're cheering and screaming and blowing horns. You just can't say enough, I wouldn't think, what it means to this team. And I'll let anybody that wants to address that.
Yeah, I'll say that, for 10 years, you've noticed, especially I've noticed that Rejoice is not the typical Class A crowd. They show up every week. They travel well. They're excited about it. At other places, if the temperature gets below 75 degrees, there's a lot of people that don't come to the games. But the way that they stepped up at the end of the season, because it's a long season and there's a lot to do.
Really?
And the weather stinks sometimes, and it's freezing cold out there. And you always wonder, and, we're not going to win or lose based on, if they show up, but I'll tell you what, it sure does make a difference. It makes a difference in the way you feel and the way you see things, and then just, we were standing on the press box at Beggs for the semifinals outside, and I could not hear a thing. It was unbelievable. But the kids feed off that energy, and then obviously when you win and all those people there to share it with you. If there was no one in the stands, we'd be excited that we won.
Right.
But we were way more excited to be able to share it with a whole lot of people that were running on that field, excited for us. And I know that it makes a difference to those boys when you feel like people appreciate you, what you're doing, your hard work, and they're excited for you. So, yeah, I can't say enough. And for all the moms and everyone that came together there and did all this stuff for the playoffs, it just sent it over the top, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it was big. It was big 6A type atmosphere. You're familiar with that. You've been in that, and you even told me that at one point in the game you couldn't even hear yourself think or talk or anything.
Yeah, it was, and it makes a big impact on the game. Yeah. They were about to go for it on 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, and then they jump off sides, and then they end up punting the ball. Those are huge moments in a game, so it truly can impact it. Mm-hmm. And I had a lot of people asking me, what was that like compared to this, some of the big 6A games? I'm like, guys, I couldn't tell a difference.
Yeah.
It was loud. There's times even when we're on offense, I'm like,
quiet down just
a little bit so I can't
just
hear.
A skosh.
So we can hear the play from Coach Willis so we can get it signaled in. But it was unbelievable. Just unbelievable environment, unbelievable atmosphere, and it does have a tremendous impact on the game.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that as a defensive coordinator, the horns I love those. I hope that is the new tradition that sticks. And I hope that every Rejoice game from here on out, our fans are known as the horn people, I guess. I don't know.
And we want the other fans to hate it because of it.
I loved it, every second of it. And I can't wait to hear those horns again next year, loud and proud up there. So
yeah.
And kudos to Mr. Pepin for canceling school.
Yes.
That was
that was a good call.
That was.
Yeah. Well, like I say, we appreciate again all Amy Nichols and that. Like Coach Willis said, right there at the end of the year, it was just phenomenal. Something that we haven't been used to seeing in my 6 years that I've been covering the games. It was just, like I say, outstanding. Anybody else on the fans? Personally, I want to thank, and I want to ask this guy to slide right down in here, Coach Riley. Can you give Todd your headset for a second?
Oh, Todd, come on. Let's see what this guy looks like.
That's right.
Does that mean Coach Riley's running the controls?
Oh, no. Todd, could you go back? Yeah. So I want to personally thank this guy who shows up at least an hour and a half, probably 2 hours before each game and the coaches show, and to get everything set up. I know Mark and we get all the accolades because we're the ones that you guys see and we're the ones that you guys hear. But all this does not happen without that guy.
No.
And I'm sure he'd love to be able to sit down and relax and at the game while his son Blake, who played an integral part of this team, just like the rest of the parents, he'd like to sit down there and just enjoy the game. But each and every game, he showed up early, and while sitting in the stands, he was still running things with his little remote iPad thing, making sure that the right chyrons showed up at the right times and on the touchdowns and the first downs and the red zones and the timeouts and all the graphics, everything you see, those are created by him. We don't have a graphics department.
Casey does halftime.
Okay, he's got
give
the
props to
halftime.
Casey
Okay,
for doing halftime.
Okay,
So
halftime. But
I
all
can't do
this,
everything.
everything that you see out there is done by him, all while at the same time trying to watch his son play. And Todd, I just want to say thank you for truly being the man behind the curtain, because none of this happens without you.
I appreciate it, Todd.
Thank you. And thanks to my wife, too, because she's always traveling along with and feeding the kids and the team and doing all the post-game meals as I'm wrapping up and picking things up and stuff. So kudos to her as well.
And your boys also help get things set up. I know your youngest son, he's right there to help. And we had him, I remember Blake, when you were first doing this.
Before they were
behind
varsity,
the camera.
they were running cameras, too.
Yeah. I mean, doing everything until we finally got somebody to do that on a regular basis, which is awesome because we don't.
Thank you. Shout out to Kai.
Yes.
He did great this season.
But really, I just want to thank you and just really not just for what you do on a regular basis, twice a week with the Coach's Show. And then he puts all this together, like when you see the stuff, like the clips, I just call him today, hey, can you put up a highlight film real quick? He goes, well, I don't know about real quick. He thought I was talking about for the entire year. He was really glad when I said, no, I just want some highlights of the championship game.
Be more specific.
Yeah. And so, Coach, you guys have anything to say for Todd?
You said it. I mean, it's just you can call him on anything. He'll give you the shirt off his back. He's extremely gifted and talented on fixing anything. He comes up and works on the press box at different times throughout the season, getting things ready. He's very thoughtful. He's just an unbelievable Booster Club parent / live stream coordinator. I don't know. Words. There's nothing. I don't know. Words won't do it for Todd.
Yeah. Thank you.
But I mean, if Todd just disappeared,
we're in trouble.
We're in trouble.
We're in huge trouble.
This whole thing is done.
I'm gonna have to talk Claire into playing football.
She might take you up on
that.
Especially
give about
if she
10
gets
more
to get
years.
Tyler. If she gets to go against Tyler, she'd probably do it.
We'll make it happen.
Well, and not just his time and stuff, but all the equipment you see. I've had people come in and they see our show and stuff, and they're going, this is as good or better than any big 6A program that does any type of Coach's Show with all the equipment. Todd's the one that got all this stuff together, and it's just amazing. If you've not ever gotten to see a Coach's Show, because that's when you get to see the equipment. And this is not all of it. This isn't even what we use at the game and stuff, but just very impressive. And I just wanted to give a shout out to you here at the end of the season for all you do, Todd.
We appreciate it a lot.
You're welcome.
Sure, thanks.
Well, thanks again.
All right, I got to step out.
Yeah, he's got to be able to get us off the air here.
Let's make sure we thank Bill and Mark for what you guys do as well.
I know.
Because it's incredible.
It is. And I know a lot of people that live far away that really appreciate you guys bringing it every week.
Yep.
Yeah. And we love hearing. We've got people that, from Jay's main grandpa still, watches this. And there's a lot of grandmas and grandpas and family that watches from all over. We've got them from Hawaii calling in saying, hey, we're watching, Nani Sweet.
Well, and what I love, too, is that you and Mark, your heart for the school, your heart for, you understand when we are using football as a tool, as a ministry, really, and our players do. You guys love that aspect of it, and you support that. And I love how you come in sometimes after games and you're as excited as we are, and sit there on the couch and eat with us. And
that's why I come in.
Yeah, exactly.
I know there's food.
Right, but everybody. It's just an unbelievable year. And I know we're getting to the close here. I just want to say too that these coaches that have been up here, and the ones that aren't up here now, but and there's just the time, the wives, so much. People that don't know the inside outs of a football, program, organization. It takes so many to get to this point.
Yes.
And there's a whole lot of teams, and there's no guarantee you're even going to be able to get close to this, and you kind of sign up for that at the beginning. And so just to be able to finish this way with these guys, seeing them happy after the game and celebrating, seeing them taking pictures with their families. I know Coach Willis's parents came from Alabama, and he had a friend come from real far away. Just seeing their family pictures. I've seen most of them, their profile pics have changed on their Facebook accounts, and already with the family pictures with this. And those are moments frozen in time, and those pictures are special. What these young men did the other day, this will go down in history. Those pictures with their families will be things that will be cherished for years. And I think that we don't even know, but when you win a gold ball, you have opportunities where these guys will be invited back if Rejoice does things right in 10 years. There'll be a 10-year reunion at halftime for the 2024 state championship team. There'll be a 20-year reunion for the 2024 state championship team, maybe 25, 30, whatever that may be. And then legacy left on the walls and pictures and things like that. It elevates to another level when you're a part of a team that does something like this.
100%. Well, I enjoy doing this. I enjoy being a part of the program, part of the family, because it is just that. It is a family, and whenever you get, to be a part of that, it's really just a blessing, and so I really enjoy it. And I want to thank you all for tuning in all year long and listening to and watching Mark and I bring you these games. We absolutely love doing it. And for all the coaches, Coach Marley, Coach Willis, Coach Warren, Coach Eckel, Coach Riley and Sanchez, and for, of course, my wingman, Mark, keep him and his dad, Sam, in your prayers, because I know he covets them. And for, of course, our engineer, Todd Witten. You've been watching the Rejoice Christian Eagles Coaches Show on this Rejoice Athletics TV channel. Until next year, good night, God bless, congratulations, and go Eagles.